The businessman who lost Evie White, Didi's son, had barely risen when Armin Malik unlocked the door to his small office. For years, this room had been his kingdom, a place where dreams were built, risks were taken, and victories felt like fireworks exploding inside his chest. Armin wasn't born rich. He had built his company brick by brick, client by client, sleepless night by sleepless night. In 10 years, he had grown from a man selling handmade furniture on the streets to the owner of a medium-sized manufacturing business with 20 employees who trusted him like family. But life, as always, had a plan of its own. The storm arrives. It started with a failed shipment, then a delayed payment, then a machine breakdown that cost more than Armin had saved, and then the biggest blow. His biggest client canceled a long-term contract without warning. Within 3 months, Armin's company went from stable to sinking. Armin fought, begged, borrowed, and prayed. But the numbers didn't lie. His business was dying. One cold evening, he sat alone in his office staring at final notices. Bank loan overdue. Electricity bill pending. Rent due. His hands trembled. His breath tightened. In one painful moment, the truth sank in. He had lost everything. The fall the next morning, he gathered his employees, the same people who had stood with him for years. "I'm sorry," he said, voice cracking. "I can't pay the salaries this month. I can't keep the factory open anymore." Some employees cried. Some looked shocked, but none blamed him. One worker, old Karim, put a hand on Armin's shoulder and said, "Sir, you didn't fail. The market failed you. You gave us more than any boss ever could." But Armin didn't believe that. That night, he closed the office door for the final time. His dream gone, his confidence shattered, his heart heavier than ever. The silence after defeat. The days that followed were the darkest of Armin's life. He stopped meeting people, stopped answering calls, stopped believing in the man he once was. Even tea tasted bitter. One afternoon, as he was sitting outside his small rented house, his 8-year-old daughter Aisha came to him. She placed a small, wrinkled paper in his hand. It was a drawing of him standing tall, wearing a suit with the words, "My papa is a hero." Armin's eyes filled. For the first time in weeks, he felt something other than pain. "Why do you think Papa is a hero?" he whispered. She hugged him tightly and said, "Because heroes don't give up, even when they fall." Something inside him shifted. The restart. The next morning, Armin walked to the market, not as a businessman, but as a learner. He visited small shops, met craftsmen, talked to people starting from scratch. He realized something important. He still had knowledge. He still had experience. He still had the courage to start again. He borrowed a small table from a friend and began selling simple wooden items, phone stands, keychains, small shelves, something he had made long before he became a CEO. People loved the designs. Orders increased. Within a month, he had enough to rent a small workshop. He hired just one worker, old Karim, who happily returned. "Sir," Karim smiled, "a man who rises twice is stronger than a man who never fell." Armin nodded. He was no longer ashamed of his failure. It had taught him more than success ever had. The rise. Within 6 months, Armin's new business, a small customized woodcraft brand, began gaining traction online. People admired not only the quality of the products, but the story behind them. Customers told others. Orders grew. Armin trained young boys from poor families, giving them skills and salaries. "Failure is not the end," he told them. "It's a bridge to something bigger." One evening, as Armin locked his new shop, His daughter ran to him and held up a new drawing. This time it showed him standing even taller, holding her hand, with the words, "My papa is a hero because he started again." Armin smiled. He had lost everything once. But in losing everything, he had found his strength. Moral of the story: your biggest failure can become your biggest turning point if you decide to stand up again. Sometimes life breaks you, only to rebuild you into someone stronger.